What is going on, everybody? This is your boy Bill Mahari here, coming to you live in another edition of MehariNation's Sports Podcast here. I've decided to change the name from Sports Radio to Sports Podcast because I think podcast sounds a bit better for me and a bit sellable. But anyway, shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to the entire Lions Den basketball community. And today, I'm going to go on live for about a half an hour. Just wanted to talk about the uh, the game last night that I attended at US Bank Stadium and the NBA playoffs, which is going to start this upcoming Saturday. So let me just get started here with the national championship game last night between Texas Tech versus Virginia. Man, oh man, what a game that was. I was thoroughly impressed of the atmosphere, the electricity. Both crowds were just on fire throughout the whole night. You know what I'm saying? It was a great game from start to finish. Both these teams really put everything on the line to win that game. But you saw the distinct differences between the two teams. Texas Tech is a team that is normally will try to go penetration to kick and try to go after open threes. And Virginia is good at methodically using half court sets to try to get easy buckets. I thought early in the game, I thought that Virginia was gonna go in there and try to methodically slow the pace down. But when they were not getting the shots off, you know what I mean? They went through stretches where they couldn't even find the bucket. And to Texas Tech's credit, they made big stops and were able to use a lot of penetration, a lot of high screen and rolls to try to get open threes off. And they got a lot of good open looks off of that penetration, though. When I look at the box score of the game, as I pull this up here right in front of me, you know both you know both these teams shooting around 40%. But kudos to Virginia. They really dominated the free throw line big. They were 20 to 23 from the free throw line and were perfect in the overtime game. That was the difference in the entire ball game. You know what I'm saying? I felt that Texas Tech had to fight all the way back, just to keep the game close. You know what I'm saying? But they really made big stops and they were knocking on the doorstep in the final minutes. I was sitting in a section where it's mostly Texas Tech fans, and boy, they were on fire. They were hoping, and they were in tune throughout the whole game. The whole arena was lit. You know what I'm saying? I just loved it. It made me proud to be a basketball fan. But the one thing I will talk about was the apparently the controversial call, specifically when Texas Tech had a turn, basically got the ball, and then it was supposed to be Texas Tech basketball. They went to the replay, and the referees ruled that in the replay that Culliver's pinky finger touched the ball last, which resulted in a change of possession. Right there, deflated any momentum that Texas Tech was trying to achieve. Unfortunately, it was basically the break that Virginia had and needed. And then after that, they made the huge bucket there and then eventually broke the game open after that. And then by that time, late in the overtime, Texas Tech was just fatigued, out of gas, and then they just did not have anything left in the tank. But DeAndre Hunter, superb performance. He had 27 points, 9 rebounds in the game. Kyle Guy, who finished as the MOP of the tournament, he had 24 points in the game there and made big shots down the stretch. DeAndre Hunter, I'll just say this, though. He really showed his lottery stance, his lottery draft stock in this whole tournament. Making big shots, making big stops there at the other end, and just doing a good job rebounding the ball there, too. And the stats there as well. Virginia had 11 offensive rebounds, and he out-rebounded Texas Tech 39 to 32 in the game there as well. And I felt that that Virginia did a good job of getting to the line and converting a majority of their free throws, though. But I felt that you know, Matt Mooney was playing too much hero ball. He was not shooting the ball very well, and probably took upon himself to try to get themselves back into the try to get Texas Tech back into the game instead of using the penetration and the kick outs to try to set his teammates up for open shots. That's how they were able to get back into the ball game. But that's been the way they've been playing all year. They always will live and die by the 3-point shot. The 3-point shot was the reason they got back into the ball game. But then they started playing hero ball and started checking up bad shots. And in a game of that setting, you can't win that way. So congratulations to the Virginia Cavaliers for winning their first ever NCAA championship in school history. They haven't been to the Final Four since 1984. That was the Georgetown year between Georgetown and Houston, between Olajuwon and Patrick Ewing, where the Georgetown Hoyas were able to avenge the 82 defeat against North Carolina, specifically when Fred Brown turned the ball over against James Worthy. But yeah, Virginia, congratulations to them. They basically redeemed themselves from last year's embarrassing first round loss to UMBC, a year ago. You know what I mean? This was a team originally when the tournament started. I had no stock in them whatsoever, because I just felt that this was a team that could just self-implode on itself at any time. But in the tournament you gotta have lucky breaks and a lot of things to go your way. And against Auburn, they had the double dribble violation that should have been called, and then the foul there on Kyle Guy that led him to the free throw line to make them the free throws there to win the game. And you got to have lucky breaks just to win the tournament too, and they had that. But they played aggressive defense, and DeAndre Hunter, proved his worth as a top draft pick, as a one of the probably a lottery draft pick. I think, to me, for DeAndre Hunter there, I think he's probably maybe a lottery, probably a top 10 pick there too. You know what I mean? I think he may be in the conversation for top 5. We'll just see how the draft predictions will turn out. After the NBA playoffs is concluded. And speaking of the playoffs, this Saturday we got the NBA playoffs. We've waited till October. Now we're into March, and we're finally gonna get it. And I'll tell you this though, this is probably one of the most wide open playoffs that we have set in front of us. No LeBron James this year. Unfortunately, his Lakers didn't make the playoffs because of injury and because of all the circumstances and the turmoil going around in that organization. So I'm hoping that they'll bounce back and probably get it together. I'm hoping my Chicago Bulls, can keep their team together, healthy, and get a good draft pick. You know what I'm saying? Draft Zion Williamson. So, but that's just that's how I feel about it. But I'm gonna get to the playoff predictions here. So, the Western Conference, as we look right now, all the seeds have been locked up. The Warriors are obviously the top seed, along with the Nuggets second, the Houston Rockets third, the Portland Trail Blazers at fourth, the Utah Jazz at fifth, and then we got the Oklahoma City Thunder at sixth, the San Antonio Spurs at seventh, and then the LA Clippers locked in the final playoff spot. So now the West is almost set in stone. The Eastern Conference right now is almost set in stone. Right now, there's a battle for the final spot between the Pistons and the Hornets and the Heat right now. Now, somebody on my Facebook page asked me earlier today if would I see the Heat making the playoffs there. I don't think so. I think that if I look at Miami's finals games of the season there, as I type this up real quick, yes, they go against the Philadelphia 76ers and the Brooklyn Nets. Now, I don't know if the Sixers will decide to rest their starters in preparation for the playoffs. If they do, then maybe the Heat could steal that one there too. But let me check on the regular season matchup between the Pistons and the Heat, and who won that matchup this season. I look at that there as well. So the Pistons have basically taken 2 of 3 against the Heat in the regular season. So if if it comes down to it, the Heat will not get the tiebreaker. So, the Pistons, if they just stay the course, because the Pistons for the final 2 games of the season 2, they got the Memphis Grizzlies and the New York Knicks. So if the Pistons, stay the course and win the next 2 games, they're in the playoffs. They are definitely in the playoffs. But if you look at the seedings right now, if I look at the seedings right now, you got the Boston Celtics. I mean, you got the Milwaukee Bucks. Congratulations to them on a phenomenal season. They're going to go 6. They're now 60-21. If they win one more game, they can go 61-21. Whatever record comes out of it. Then you got the Toronto Raptors at second, the Philadelphia 76ers at third, then the Boston Celtics, and then the Pacers at the 5th seed. You know what? Let me just say this too about the Pacers. The Pacers really done a great job of keeping things together there and really have turned things around even after they lost Victor Oladipo with the season-ending injury there. You know, they're an interesting team though, and I'm going to talk to you about that as soon as I'm done with the seeding there. So then we got the Brooklyn Nets at 6. Then you got the Orlando Magic at 7th, and then currently heading to tonight, we got the Detroit Pistons with the 8th spot, with the Hornets and the Heat in the 9th and 10th position, still trying to push to the final playoff spot. So let me start with the Eastern Conference there. My prediction of the Eastern Conference is simply this: I got the Milwaukee Bucks winning the whole Eastern Conference and getting to the NBA Finals. I think that Mike Budenholzer, let me say his name, Mike Budenholzer. Yep, Mike Budenholzer. He's done a tremendous job of constructing and coaching this Milwaukee Bucks team. They're actually one of the league leaders in 3-point shooting there too, and so Giannis is having a superb season for them too. Now the question is going to be, once they do get healthy, once they get all their guys back, how will they look heading into the playoffs? So with that being said, when you look at the playoff matchup here between the 1 and the 8 seed there, I got the Bucks sweeping the Pistons, whoever comes out of it. Then you got the Toronto Raptors versus the Orlando Magic, 2 and 7. You got Philadelphia versus Brooklyn. And by the way, shout out to the Brooklyn Nets, though, man. What a season! What a surprising season they had, though. And also, D'Angelo Russell, he's been having a superb season too. He's really shown his worth as a point guard there in Brooklyn since being traded to from Los Angeles. You know what I'm saying? So they're an intriguing matchup there. They're a very intriguing matchup, and a team to keep an eye on. But they're going to go against the Philadelphia 76ers, and then you got the 4s and 5s matchup between the Celtics and the Pacers. So, way I look at it is this: I got the Milwaukee Bucks coming out of the East, and then the Raptors. The Raptors to me are a very intriguing thing, because the thing is, if Kawhi Leonard stays healthy and plays like he's capable of playing, this could set up for a classic matchup in the Eastern Conference Finals. To me, though, I think the Bucks may have a bit more in the tank than the Toronto Raptors do, and the reason is that normally in the playoffs, the Raptors, role players have not stepped up in huge moments in the playoffs. Last year, they got blitzed by a LeBron James Cavaliers team that was on a mission to get to the finals, and then the year before that, they lost in 6 games. So, but with Kawhi Leonard now in the fold, now it's going to be interesting to see how the Raptors will try to approach things. Now you got a superstar like Kawhi Leonard on your team. We're going to see how will the Raptors look. Obviously, the one team that is going to be a wild card in this thing is the Boston Celtics. Now, the Celtics have been injured. They've been playing inconsistent basketball all season long. But the playoffs are a different animal. So I'm very interested to see how the Boston Celtics will try to turn this around. I got the Celtics beating the Pacers probably in 6, And then with that it being said there too, they are capable of, beating the Philadelphia 76ers if they do meet them in the conference finals. I don't think that's going to happen. But with the Philadelphia 76ers, though, how will Ben Simmons perform in the playoffs? You know that they're going to make him shoot jump shots. That's a fact. We all know that they're going to make him take jump shots, and they're going to force, Joel Embiid to play in the post, to post up instead of turning and facing the bucket there too. So, with that being said, in the Eastern Conference, I'm going with the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, as we shift over to the Western Conference, it's the Warriors conference to win, but there are some matchups that could, be in the way of that being possible. With the Trailblazers and the Utah Jazz as a 4-5 matchup, both these teams could give the Warriors some problems because, again, the Jazz are a very sound defensive team, and we know Donovan Mitchell's a beast. And we know that Rudy Gobert is going to patrol in the paint there too. But now the Warriors can throw DeMarcus Cousins at them, and then we're going to see how will it play out if it goes that far. With the Portland Trailblazers, I think they're going. I think they might run into some problems there. With the Blazers there, because of their dominant backcourt of C.J. McCollum and Damian Lillard there too. But I think Nurkic's injury is going to play a significant role there in terms of the rebounding, in terms of his presence down inside in the paint there. So, with that being said, I'm going to go with the Golden State Warriors to come out of the West. I think that the Nuggets are not. I've just never been a believer of the Nuggets this season. They've had a superb season, and let me tell you this. I want to say this though too. Nikola Jokic, I will say, boy, he has been a spectacular. He's been having a spectacular year, and he does deserve to be in the discussion for MVP voting because, as you look on NBA.com, Jokic is the first center since Wilt Chamberlain to distribute 500 assists in a season. And this is one of the reasons why the Nuggets are now facing the possibility of going to the finals should they even meet the Warriors there. Here, he's been averaging 20 points a game, and he's been grabbing 8 to 10 rebounds a game. And also, when you also look at his stats there too, he's been averaging 7.4 assists a game this season. I mean, this guy, you have to realize he's the kind of guy you can't simply just, double team him too, because he's good at seeing the whole floor and finding open people. But I'm anxious to see how the Nuggets will respond in the pressure of playoff time, because the regular season, it's the regular season. You're just going to go in there, you win some, you lose some. But in the playoffs, it's much more magnified because now, it's all about matchups. It's about who can adjust better, but also who in their right mind, who can also make the big plays late in the games that's going to decide it, winning or losing games. And that's what I'm anxious to see. I'll tell you this, though. The NBA playoffs are my favorite time of the year because we get all sorts of matchups and all sorts of different type of scenarios and styles. It's just another way to get yourself in tune and involved with basketball too. Now, I get that there's a lot of people who are just not into NBA basketball because, there's way too much scoring, not much defense, and I get it. I totally understand it. But at the same time, though, when it comes down to it, though, people are going to tune into the playoffs right around this time that they would, with baseball, because baseball is a long season, and I promise you this, people are going to check out a lot of these playoff matchups there too, but also a lot of the performances and the storylines that come down with it. But with no LeBron James, now it makes it a bit more interesting. Now, I know the mainstream media is going to try to throw in some barb within LeBron James's name there too. I would suggest for everybody, all my subscribers, just ignore that. You know, enjoy the matchups, enjoy all the good stuff that's going to take place come playoff time. And let the best man win. Now, starting this Saturday on my normal time, I'm going to start counting down my top 10 favorite first round series of all time. From ranging from 10 to 8, 10 to 1. So for this weekend, I'm going to do 10 and 9 for both Saturday and Sunday, and then we'll go through 8 and 7 for Sunday. Now, I'm putting a list together, and you're going to hear my reasoning about it. And I just want to be sure from all of my subscribers that are going to listen to this that this is a replay. You know, if you have anything interesting thoughts or other analysis that you want to put a spin in there too, because I want everybody to feel engaged. I want people to put their opinions out there, respectful opinions, and just put different thoughts in there as well. Because with the more engagement, the better. You know what I mean? So yeah, man, I just can't wait for the playoffs to start. Now we just got through almost 3 to 4 weeks of this nonstop tournament basketball in college, and now we got to flip the page and we're going to get into the NBA playoffs. And now 16 teams will all battle it out for one championship. And I will tell you this: the Warriors are playing for history, because you think about this for a moment. Since the 2000 Lakers with Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant that won 3 straight titles, there's not been a three-peat champion in this millennium. You know what I mean? The Spurs have never achieved the three-peat or even back-to-back. The Heat have achieved back-to-back. The Lakers through 2009 and 2010 achieved back-to-back, but didn't get to the three-peat. The Warriors, achieved the back-to-back. And now they have a chance to go for the three-peat and put themselves in the category of the Shaquille O'Neal, Kobe Bryant Lakers, Jordan and the Pippen Bulls, and then also putting themselves in the category of Russell Celtics that won an unbelievable 8 titles in a row in the 60s. You know what I mean? So certainly there's a lot of anticipation there. And also, will this be the last time, Kevin Durant stays in Golden State? I believe that Kevin Durant will probably opt out of his contract and probably go somewhere else, maybe to the New York Knicks. Selfishly, I would love for him to go back to Oklahoma City. I know it's not possible, but selfishly, in my fantasy world, I would love for him to go back to Oklahoma City, and make up things for what happened after they blew a 3-1 lead against the Golden State Warriors that year. You know what I'm saying? So it'll be interesting what's going to happen when the playoffs do start. All the different storylines, all the great performances that you'll see out there. I know there's going to be a lot of blowouts, but I'm hoping there won't be too many blowouts. I just want to see just guys competing from start to finish. You know what I mean? It just feels like in today's NBA, if a team goes up by 10 plus points, they just shut it down. And what I saw in the NCAA tournament, that's not always the case. Even if you're up by more than 10 points, the game is not over yet. You know what I'm saying? So I'm hoping that in the playoffs, it's a different animal, but I'm hoping to just see all-out effort nonstop. And if we get that, we should be in for a wild ride. All right? So that does it again for another edition of MehariNation Sports Podcast here. Thank you all for tuning in, and thank you all for following me around throughout the whole Final Four in Minneapolis. I had a great time there, and I will never forget an overtime game. In fact, before I go, I will tell you this though. Last night's game was the 8th overtime game in the history of the NCAA Men's National Championship game, which proceeds to be the last overtime game was probably back in 2008 with Kansas and Memphis. And you remember how that turned out. So yeah, it was a great venue. I certainly had a great time. And also, feel free to watch some of the video clips and all the practices and stuff like that on my YouTube page. And don't forget to follow me on Facebook there on Instagram and Twitter there. And also, I have a website now on through Wix.com, where you get to see a lot of my opinionated columns and all my different opinions on the world of sports there too. So when the playoffs do end, I will slowly transition into baseball. Won't go cover it too heavily because baseball is a long season, and a lot of stuff goes along the way there too. So just stay the course with baseball, and we'll be all right. Okay, so that does it for another edition of MehariNation Sports Podcast. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to the entire Lions Den basketball community, and we out. Have a great night, everybody.